Three, two, one. Hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining us on the Gonzo Experience. This is David Gonzo Mamano. I am here with some great guests to help you push through to your next level so that you make sure that you maximizing your entrepreneurial journey and being all that you can be. Oftentimes we have entrepreneurs that will share their stories of when they crashed and burned. I like to say crash and learn, but rose like the phoenix to thrive again. And today I have on the show someone who I feel strongly is really going to help you to, a lot of us have that entrepreneurial ADHD going on, and we feel like we're spinning 10 plates at one time. And by the end of the day, we're exhausted and may look back and say, what the hell did I get done today? I've had many of those days. I'm sure you have too. And so what we want to do is get some guests on here that can help you declutter your life so that you can focus on being the best you for your business, for your family, and for yourself. That being said, so my guest today is a new friend, and it's my first guest from Dubai. I want to welcome Saahil Mehta. Saahil, welcome to the show.
Hey, David. Great to be on the show.
So excited to have you here. I believe we were introduced by Natalia Berdikian, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and she's she's been on my show twice. An incredible energy coach, and she's introduced me to a lot of great people like you. So once again, so I'm so excited that you are on the show. I'm recording this at around 1:00 my time. What time is it? What time is it over there in Dubai?
It's just past 9:00 in the evening.
All right. So right before your bedtime. I appreciate you staying up late.
Absolutely.
So Sahil, you are an entrepreneur, you're an author, and you're a passionate mountaineer. Since 2010, you've scaled 4 of the tallest mountains in the world, a dream that you have harbored since childhood. As a global citizen, Sahil has built successful businesses across 3 continents. But even thereafter, he struggled to experience peace, happiness, and abundance. And only once he conquered his self-limiting mental, emotional, and physical clutter, he was able to reinvent 4 key dimensions of his life. With his debut book, Break Free, he shares his personal journey of how he transcended all odds to scale the summits of his dreams and how you too can dream up new personal summits every day. Once you have mastered the art of decluttering life by adopting this foolproof process of breaking free, you will be the entrepreneur that you always dreamed of being. I don't know how anybody cannot want to listen to the show after that intro, Sahil. So again, welcome to the show. Go on to your website. The words that really stuck out to me: decluttering, break free, let go, and focusing on mind and body and people and material world. And I'm talking about decluttering those things. And I am so excited to hear what you have to say, Sahil, because I am a diagnosed ADHD entrepreneur. It is a superpower. I'm proud of it, but it often will exhaust me if I use it the wrong way, and that means kind of spreading out my wattage too much instead of focusing it. And so I want to learn more about, first of all, your journey as a business person, and then what happened to you to get to this point where you had to. Sounds like you had some great success, but it wasn't really fulfilling. We weren't spiking the ball, as they say, and then that allowed you to break through this barrier and get your life on track through, as you say, decluttering. So please start with your story about how you got to where you were, and then what you did to get to a great place, and how you help others. Give us some tips on how we can walk away with just amazing new nuggets of wisdom to declutter our life and just bring joy and happiness and get in alignment with great energy.
So, David, it all started in the past 2010, right? I mean, from the outside, things look great. Business is doing well. I've got a business in precious stone trading. I've got a business in hospitality, and things are working out nice. I started to build up a bit of a real estate portfolio. No complaints, but something was missing. Even though I was happily married, still am happily married, by the way. with kids and, family nearby. I mean, I don't know. From the outside, people can say this looks like a pretty good life. But I felt something was missing. I felt something was empty. And I didn't quite know what it was. And so in 2016, I call that the year that I woke up. I was on a trip in Spain, and I was there with some business leaders as well. And so we're sitting at the airport at Barcelona, waiting at the gate for the flight to depart. And we ask one another, what can we do to make this trip more magical? And we came up with 2 words, and we discussed it internally. We said, yes, let's do it. And those 2 words were no judgment. Now, I can't tell you how powerful that was for me. I just felt as if this huge weight was lifted off my shoulder. I didn't have to worry about impressing anyone. I didn't have to be someone that I'm not. I could just be me. And so the next 4 days while we were there, I experienced joy that was euphoric. And let me just share one example with you. So we went dining at this restaurant called Leo. And for those who don't know about this restaurant, it's this amazing place, a lot of energy. They have entertainment while you dine. So they'll have, magicians, acrobatics, the dance, singing, etc. So we had a table right next to the stage. And during one of the acts, which was a dancing act, the lady, she looks at me and she points and she says, come up. Now, the previous me, even though I love to dance, because of the fear of judgment, I would have shrunk back in my chair, perhaps looked the other way, picked up my mobile phone, pretending I'm busy. But this time I said, hey, no judgment, let's go. And I went up, and it was truly liberating. And that's what I experienced for the next few days as well. So as I'm on the flight back to Dubai, I said, I have to write this down. I want to share this with my wife. And as I'm writing it down, tears started to trickle down my face. And I'm thinking to myself, Saahil, what's going on? It's not like you to cry. And the more I started to reflect, I realized I couldn't recognize myself anymore, David. I had been wearing so many masks for so long that I was lost. And the mask that was most dominant in my life must be seen as Mr. Nice Guy. I was always trying to please others, but at what expense? Right? Because it's obviously a good thing. It's a nice thing to do good things for other people, but not sacrificing your own health, which is what was happening with me. And, it's like they say, it's not that I had a huge problem. It's once I tasted better, I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't want to go back. And so I said, my goodness, what's holding me back? And that's when I started to realize there are many things which I now call clutter. And just to be clear on what the definition of clutter is, because many people have different definitions, clutter is nothing more than shunned confrontations. That's my definition. And I was shunning confrontations in my mind, with my health, with relationships, as well as the environment that I live in. So I said, no more. I'm going to make myself the number one priority. And now for those who are listening, and people sometimes when they hear me speaking on stage, they go, whoa, that sounds a bit selfish. And I go, no, it's actually coming from a place of love. Because if I'm focusing just on other people, then I'm damaging my health. I'm losing energy. I'm not productive as I can be. I am unhappy, etc., etc. But now I'm focusing on myself, and now my cup is overflowing. So I've got so much more to offer to everyone around me, be it in the workplace or in the house, and everyone around. And so I came back and I said, okay, let's start identifying the clutter. And I, took one at a time, and I started to break free from it. And every little piece that I broke free from. And David, I don't know if you remember those old prison movies, when they wrap those ball and chains around your legs so you wouldn't escape?
Sure.
Yeah, I felt like I had a lot of those around my leg, so, as entrepreneurs or as business leaders or anyone for that matter in society, how can you expect to soar to new heights, to become a better version of yourself, if you're carrying all that excess weight with you, right? I mean, as a mountaineer, I can tell you, if I'm carrying weight that doesn't serve any function, it's going to take me longer to get to the summit. It's going to require more energy, and I may not even make it. right? So it's time to start recognizing the clutter in our lives and really break free from it. And the beauty is in the book, I'm an engineer, so I share very simple tools that people can implement in their life immediately to do that, exactly that. So that's kind of my story of how it all began.
I love all that you just said, but especially towards the end there about the extra weight. It's going to slow you down. It's going to deter you from your goal, and you may not even get there. How scary is that, right? And just breaking the shackles, pruning the extra weight. And I think I think everyone, and probably even you, this is probably a constant, I'm going to say constant opportunity for you instead of challenge for even an expert like you. Just, I could picture just constantly having to kind of, taking a deep breath and saying like, what has crept up on me that I'm carrying? What are, and I think that most anybody could really just think about it a little bit. What is holding them back from having the best relationship possible, from having the best career, just feeling joy from what you do every day in your career, in your spirituality, in your friendships, and if you're a husband, a wife, a father, a mother, a son, a daughter, what's holding you back from being the best you can be, and realizing what those are, and then cutting them loose pretty much, right? And so how long did it take you to really feel like, oh, I'm a free man? I mean, was it overnight? Did it take weeks, months?
So David, before I answer that question, based on what you just said, I just want to add another perspective. All of us talk about learning more, adding more. And I'm not saying learning is not important. It absolutely is. But at the same time, let's add what is going to serve function and purpose in our life. But at the same time, let's also shed away the excess, right? And here's the thing, what may have been useful for you a decade ago may not serve you today. So just because something was useful before doesn't mean it's useful today. So that's just a thought I want to plant in everyone's head. But my journey, wow. So, as I mentioned, 2016, we're now 5 years on. I'm still on the journey, still, breaking free. But I would say within 6 months, I already noticed a huge difference. And that gave me the momentum to keep going, because I can tell you that it's not always going up, right? It's not a journey where you're summiting the mountain and it has only peaks. There are valleys there as well. And boy, there have been some storms that I've had to go through, but as they say, no pain, no gain. But yeah, it was a good, I wouldn't even say 6 months. I started seeing the benefits within weeks.
That's great. I love it. Because us entrepreneurs, we want immediate results, right? So, so let's get into your book a little bit, and I still want people to buy it, and I'm assuming it's available on Amazon, right?
Yep, it's available on all major e-commerce platforms. That's correct.
Yep, Break Free is the name of the book. So give us some nuggets that we can start today, because for me, yeah, I want to declutter. I want to declutter in my mind, my body, uh, you know, people. I probably need to shed some people in my life, immaterial stuff, right? Like, give me some tips on how we could, maybe what are the first steps in getting this going?
So why don't we tackle one at a time if that's good with you, David?
Sure, absolutely.
So we can start with decluttering the mind. With everything that's going on in the world today, unfortunately, there's a lot more fear, right? It's kind of engulfed the planet. And so I want to share something that you can apply effective immediately that's going to help you. And it goes like this. So the first time I heard this, I thought the person who was sharing it with me was mad. But I want you to, be a little patient and see where this goes. So in my book, I shared that there's absolutely no reason to worry. And so you probably have the readers going, what? But
I like it.
let's go through it. So do you have a problem, or let's call it a challenge? That's a better word. Do you have a challenge in life? No. Easy, nothing to worry about. If you answered yes, can you do something about it? No. If you can't do anything about it, then what's the point of worrying about it? Because nothing that you can do is going to change the outcome. So then stop worrying about it, just accept it. And if you can do something about it, then why on earth are you not doing anything about it? Right? Put a plan of action in place and go. And then the worrying is gone. And so, some people come up to me and go, yeah, but it's not so simple. I've got complex issues and challenges. I say, okay, that's fine. Break it up. Everything that comes your way, break it up and split it into two piles. It could be the most complex project that you're working on. So what? Break it into two parts. The things that you can do something about and the things you cannot. You remove immediately the things that you can't do anything about, your worrying goes down. And then the things that you can do something about, start putting a plan of action in place for each of those things and watch your worrying go down. Because now you're like, okay, I'm doing something about it. It's temporary. It's going away slowly or fast, depending on what it is.
What's an example of something that I worry about, but I can't do anything about it?
The weather.
Mm-hmm.
It could be the weather. It could be something in politics. It could be, what else could it be? It could be lots of things, right? It could be, what are people worrying about today? Like, for example, they're worrying about, the pandemic, right? I mean, it's there. And what you can do something about, for example, is you can get vaccinated. You can do social distancing. You can take certain measures, but beyond that, there's nothing else you can do. So the rest of it, you just say, okay, it is what it is. I'm not going to worry about those elements. And the things I do need to worry about, I'll put safety precautions in place. And then, so now I'm good. And then the worrying goes away.
For instance, that makes a lot like, wars in other countries. I feel bad about them, but I really can't do much about it. Like you said, the weather, politics, can't do much about it. Right. So also thinking things that I can do things about. I worry about, I'll say, I'm not worried about it, but I do think about it. But for example, somebody may say, I worry about having a heart attack. And okay, well, what can you do about that? Well, I could eat better. I could work out more. I could go see a nutritionist. I could get a personal trainer, right? So that's what you mean. I could just stop worrying and start taking action to, do whatever I can to make sure that I don't have a heart attack, right?
Yeah, exactly. You nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Well, that's why I work out every morning, because I have to burn myself off, So a lot of energy to burn off, and I want to stay healthy so that I can be around for my great grandkids.
There you go.
Yeah. So perfect. So this is, you can do this for, what you're talking about, like mind, body, people, material world. You can apply this principle to any of those categories.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a mindset, right? I mean, anytime you get look, let's be honest. It starts with awareness. Sometimes we're doing things and we're just not aware. So be more in tune with your body, and that means you have to pause every now and again, right? Because if you're just running constantly, you forget to see the view. You forget to see the beauty around you. And so every now and again, just pause, look around, take a deep breath, slow down. Right. And then it's so easy just to kind of do a quick body scan. What am I feeling? Where's that coming from? Okay, I've been worrying about this for a long time. Well, actually, I don't need to worry about it. I can do something. In the example you gave, I can eat better. I can work out. I can see a nutritionist. I can, get a blood test done every 6 months or something. Just make sure that everything's fine. So awareness is key, David. I find that, I look at myself from many years ago. I was constantly on the run. I wake up and I'm just running, and then it's wake up, wake the kids up, drop them to school, come back, work out, go to the office, work, have a quick lunch. If there's time for lunch, work, come home, put the kids to bed. barely enough energy to spend with some friends and family and go to bed. Where was me time? Right? There was no me time. And if I want to add some time in the day, I can say, okay, let me plan something in the evening, but things crop up. I can say, let me plan something in the day for me time, but then meetings or this or that, something comes up. And so I came across this lovely book called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. And
I've had Hal on my podcast, one of my favorite books.
yeah, and that is a great inspiration. And I realized that the only way to get me time was in the morning. So now I'm waking up 1 hour before the rest of the house, and that's me time. I'm investing in me. I mean, how can you expect yourself, David, to go to the next level if you're not investing in yourself?
What time do you get up now?
So it depends on when the rest of the house gets up, but in general, about 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you go through Hal's recommended program there?
So I yes and no. I say yeah, I do go through a program that's similar, but I've modified it to suit my needs.
Mm-hmm.
But the key is, and what I tell everyone is, make sure you do something that energizes you every morning, right? And so I go through a process of, for example, first there's movement, just to kind of open up the body because it's been lying down for so long, and get the heart pumping again. I follow that up with some breath work to oxygenate my body and my cells. Then from that, I move on to meditation, just to balance the mind and the heart so that I'm, as balanced as can be to take on the day. And then I end it with journaling, right? And I love some of the tips that I got from him. And in the journaling, it's about writing things I'm excited about, things I'm grateful for, positive affirmation, kind of what are my key tasks not tasks, but my key objectives for the day. And that's only going to be 1, 2, or 3 things maximum. Because guess what? I don't know about you, but before that, I used to have a task list on my desk. And I'd get in the office and there'd be lots of things on that list. I'd get many things done, but more things would be added. So I leave and it's still a very long list. And you don't feel that good. So now I say, okay, what are 1, 2, 3 key objectives that I have to get done today? I do them first, right? It's a great technique, again, that I learned from Brian Tracy, right? He wrote Eat That Frog. So get those done, and that's a win. So every day you walk out of the office and you go, wow, I won because I finished the 3 things that I put on the list, versus, oh my God, this task list just never ends. So I go through that, and then I take a line from SpongeBob SquarePants that my kids, put into my head, which is, this is going to be the best day ever. So once I finish this morning routine, I'm on a high, right? So now you can give me some news that I don't like. You can tell me a contract didn't go through. You can do whatever, but you're not going to, you're going to knock me down a little bit, but you're not going to knock me out. Whereas previously, and I'm sure this resonates with many of the listeners, I used to pick up my phone first thing in the morning. And guess what happens? Sometimes you see things you don't like. And that used to put me in a bad mood. And it used to take me the whole day just to get back to a place where I can be more productive. So when people say, yeah, time management, I'm like, look, if you start with energy, high energy, you're automatically going to be more productive and you're going to get a lot more stuff done. So how about not picking up any gadgets in the morning or watching TV? Because if you get into a bad place, your productivity is going to go down. It's going to hurt relationships with people and perhaps some other things too. Why would you want to risk that?
Yeah, it's so important. It's kind of some other people that have talked about this. Cameron Herold, who wrote The Miracle Morning for Entrepreneurs, co-wrote it with Hal Elrod, and he sticks in there. And you talk about priorities. One of his things is, if you have more than 3 priorities, you have none, right? Because you'll get nothing done. Right? One is great. One is great. You get that done. 2, you could still do. 3. Certainly it's possible. Anything more than 3 priorities in one day, you're just not going to get anything done. So therefore you have none. Cameron's been on my podcast as well, along with Hal Elrod. And then another guy, Ed Milet, has been on my podcast, and he's a big proponent of what you're talking about and he calls it bookending your day. And so he, starts out by controlling his morning like you are, so that he can navigate the day a lot easier with more control and focus. in positivity. And then he also ends the day alone with some time of, journaling, breathing, reading, just kind of calming the day down before he goes to bed. And he calls it bookending the day. And I love that. And I do think it's very, very important because a lot of population will get up, they're late, have coffee, hop in a shower, speed to work. And there's no time for them just to, as you said, get the mind, the body, the soul all aligned, right? And it's a very intentional process. And you can only do it when it's quiet, when you're alone.
I love that, David. And that so beautifully transitions to the next, the next phase, which is decluttering the body, right? I mean, you talked about how you end your day. And one thing that I certainly took for granted was sleep. I used to sacrifice sleep for everything else, whether it's socializing, working, or, whatever else it might be. But I came to realize that sleep is one of the most important things that I have to give a lot of priority to, because that's where healing is occurring, right? So if I want better health and I want to be fresh the next morning, it starts with the sleep. And so I tell everyone, I'm like, look, there are many things that you can do to get into this nice sleep routine, because the body loves patterns, right? It recognizes that I'm about to go to bed. And so I want to share a few tips which can help someone. Again, I want to share something that you can put into effect today, not tomorrow, today. So here are the tips that I'd share for sleep. The first one: no screen time for at least an hour prior to bed. Why? Many of you must have heard this. The blue light that's emitted from these devices, that's affecting the production of melatonin, which is absolutely key for you to fall asleep. So just by eliminating screen time at least an hour before bed, you're not hampering with the production of melatonin. The second one is get into a sleep routine. It might be switching off the lights, putting on the air conditioning or the heating, brushing your teeth, changing into your pajamas, whatever it is, but follow a routine, because the subconscious mind now understands that I'm about to go to bed, right? So just have some sort of a sleep routine. The third one, I would say, is be conscious of your caffeine intake, right? Because caffeine has a half-life of about 4 to 6 hours. So, when people are having coffees late in the day, there's an element of that caffeine that's affecting your sleep. Now, I know many people, they say, oh, I can still fall asleep. I can have an espresso and go to bed. Yeah, sure. I'm not saying you can't, but I'm saying it's affecting your sleep. So be conscious of that. And, in an ideal world, you should have your last coffee with lunch or even before lunch, if you don't want that to impact your sleep. The fourth thing is your dinner, right? Be conscious of your dinner. What are you eating? Make sure there's a gap of at least 3 hours. Why? Because, once you eat, your digestion process begins. And just the gastric emptying, which is from where it goes from your stomach into your intestines, you're looking at a 3 to 5 hour period, depending on what kind of food you eat. And the less artificial food you eat, the easier it is to break down. So it takes less time. And even, now we live in a world where everyone's like, oh, protein, protein, protein. But protein's harder to break down. So eating too much protein during dinner is also not good, because it's going to take a lot longer to digest. And guess what's happening when your energy is being used to digest food, which, by the way, is anywhere from 10 to 30% of your total energy consumption goes towards digesting food. When it's not digesting food, it's being used to heal, because your body is a natural healing machine. I mean, think about it. When you have a small cut on your finger, you don't have to go see a doctor. You don't have to take any medicine. It just heals by itself. So let's allow our body to do what it does best, and that's to heal. Let's not put all this clutter and all these obstacles in the way, which are then causing all sorts of illnesses. And then the final tip that I'd give for the sleep is be conscious of the time you go to bed as well, right? And practice getting to bed around the same time every day. So a lot of your physical recovery is happening from about 10 p.m. till 2 in the morning. And a lot of your mental recovery is happening from 2 in the morning till 6 in the morning. And that's why some people who fall asleep at, let's say, 1 in the morning, and they still have a good 7 or 8 hours of sleep, they feel physically tired because the physical healing has not happened. We follow this circadian rhythm, which is in line with the sun. This is like from the caveman days. We need to go back to how things used to be, at least from maybe not in terms of the comfort. We have a much nicer bed than back then, but there's a lot of things that our ancestors did that we've forgotten, and we need to bring those back. So here are some great tips that you can implement immediately for your sleep.
I am such a big fan of sleep, and I believe everything you said. I try to, go up to bed around 9:30 and be asleep by 10. And I love sleep. Yeah, it's a whole nother subject to dive into, but it's amazing what happens to your mind and your body when you're sleeping. Just a complete reset, right? Of chemicals, just your brain filing stuff. I mean, it's really fascinating. We don't think of sleep that much. A lot of people don't, but it really truly is one of nature's miracles. And I like what you just said too. From 10 to 2, we're getting our physical reset, and from 2 to 6, we're getting our mental reset. That's good to know. And it's not like if you go to bed at 2 and sleep 8 hours, what you're saying is you're not going to really make that up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, interesting. How about people? Let's talk about decluttering people. That's a tough one, right? Friends, family, years of best friends since we were 6, maybe not serving us anymore. Family members who were blood related, maybe not serving us anymore. How do you declutter people?
So let me get one thing clear, because when I say decluttering people, most people assume that it means getting rid of people in your life. And what I'm referring to is removing the clutter between two people. Okay, so it's about, because sometimes there's a lot that's happening and then things are not said, things are assumed, lots of expectations, different understandings, and then it's like this. It's the white elephant in the room that no one wants to talk about, but it's there. And so we want to remove this clutter so two people can get closer together. And the other thing is there might be some people who just you don't need in your life, but they just they push those triggers, right? They push those triggers and you're going and you get angry, you get frustrated and all that. So we want to, but guess what's happening there, David? Effectively, they're the puppet master and you're the puppet, because knowingly or unknowingly, they're affecting you in such a way that you are not yourself anymore. So we want to break free from that bondage with those people as well. So that's the decluttering that I'm speaking about. So one element is removing the clutter and bringing people closer. And the other one is, breaking away from this puppet master link so that you can be neutral around those people should they still continue to enter your life. Because, it could be with a colleague, you can't just have them disappear. Like you said, it could be an extended family member. Well, guess what? They're going to remain family. They're not going to disappear. But how you react, that's where you have a choice. And that's where you can have a change.
Yeah, there's a saying: you can't change people's actions. You can only change your reactions, right? Or be in control of your reactions. And very simple, but hard to do, right?
Yeah, and look, again, it comes with awareness. I'm going to share a great tip that you can use, in those scenarios. So, I use this metaphor. Imagine it's the horse rider and the horse. So in general, in life, you're the horse rider. You're telling the horse, speed up, slow down, turn left, turn right, stop, whatever it might be. But when your triggers are being pressed, what's happening is your emotions are starting to rise. And at some point, you transition from the horse rider to the horse. Now, when you become the horse, you're a wild animal. You don't have control over all your actions. I mean, how many times have you looked back and said, oof, I wish I didn't say that. I wish I didn't do that. And that's because you were high on emotion and that emotion was controlling you. So when you notice that you're transitioning or have transitioned from the horse rider to the horse, the first objective needs to be, how do I get back to being the horse rider? And a great technique that I use is just taking deep breaths. Just take deep breaths. Just keep practicing that until you transition back. And it doesn't mean you can't have emotion, but you're not going to let emotion control you. So rather than reacting, you can now consciously reply, right? Because we don't want to have those moments where we look back with regret. That's what we are trying to avoid here.
So powerful. So powerful. This is one of my favorite interviews so far, Sahil. I'm drinking this like the Kool-Aid that I'm supposed to drink. This is beautiful.
Thank you.
So the other category, material world. Now here, we're in America, right? And America might be Latin for material world, right? I mean, it's just this consumer-based society. We're gonna, companies are gonna make something. It's gonna be obsolete, and we got to buy more, and then we got to buy more, and we need more, and we need this to make this work better. And oh my God, my friend has this, and I got to get something better. And and it could spin out of control if you let it, right? So how have you, and how do you recommend people, declutter their material world?
So David, this is a big problem for me because I'm never going to get any sponsorship, right? I mean, everyone's going to be like,
Yeah.
getting rid of stuff. We can't
Yeah.
sponsor
You're sponsored by Air. There you go.
No, so look, I want to share a story from the mountain for this one. So I'm climbing up Kilimanjaro. So this is the tallest mountain in Africa and the tallest freestanding mountain in the world. And I'm climbing up with my wife and 4 other women, which are all friends from Dubai. And one evening over dinner in our tents, I asked the ladies, I said, what do you miss the most? Now, without hesitation, all of them said, our kids.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what? I mean, no one said husband, right? I mean, what's going on here? And I still felt okay because my wife is there. So she's obviously not missing me because I'm right there. But then I said, okay, look, ladies, jokes aside, excluding people, what do you miss the most? And these were the 3 answers that were coming out of everyone's mouths. 1, a bed. 2, a warm room. And 3, running water.
Hmm.
And David, that's when it hit me. I said, wow, no one was thinking of something material.
Right.
Right? I mean,
they weren't missing their Mercedes, or they weren't missing their Rolex watch, right? So
no. And these were the necessities, right? Shelter, food, basic clothing. These are our needs. And that's when I realized I have to change my language because I'm always saying, I need a new laptop. I need a new pair of shoes. I need a new watch. I need a new printer. I need a new bag. I need. But in reality, David, none of them were needs. I have everything that I need. Again, the needs are the necessities. I have shelter. I have food. I have basic clothing. Everything else is a want. It's a desire. And when I came to that realization, I started changing my language. I started saying, I want this, I want that, right? So already your brain understands it's not a necessity because sometimes just the words you use can have a strong impact on your mind. And so now whenever I go somewhere and that desire pops up and says, ooh, that looks nice. Shall we have a look at the price and perhaps purchase it? I'll ask myself, what values are really going to bring in my life? Is it something that has a functional benefit? Is it going to, like, for example, if I buy a new mobile phone from the one I have, is it improving my life? Or is it just because it's the latest one and I want to look cool and, show it off to people, or whatever the other reasons may be? But if it's adding function and making my life easier or better, I'm happy to go purchase it. I'm not saying don't buy anything. I'm just saying, ask yourself, what purpose or what function is this going to, benefit in my life, and then make the decision. And I found that when I ask myself that question and I don't impulse buy it, I usually say, okay, let me mull on it and I'll come back tomorrow. And if I still feel strongly about it, I'll consider it. And when I do that, you'll be surprised how many items get off my list because I'm like, I can actually do without.
Well, I think about 100 years ago, they didn't have any of this stuff, right? They had if they were lucky, right? They had a warm bed, a warm room, and water, right? Not even running, just water, right?
Yeah.
And we certainly don't need all this stuff. And once again, I love what you're saying because I view myself is every day I only have so much wattage, and by it's going to run out, and I want to try to make it last with gusto until the end of the day. But often because of you know the clutter in different areas of my life, and giving that wattage to areas where I lost it, but I didn't really need to use it over there. I'm spent by the end of the day, right? Instead of feeling like I have energy left for, my kids and the walk outside and et cetera. And I think one of the great things that you're teaching is that all this can be very instigative, right? It could be managed personally. And, but you have to make time for yourself to do it. Right. And, you had said this too. Some people may say that it's selfish, but at the end of the day, you being a better person is not selfish, because you're going to be better for your family, your spouse, your kids, your friends, your work, your mindfulness, your spirituality, your relationships, your parents, etc. And so that's not selfish. You being a better you is not only better for you, it's better for everybody else, in my opinion. So I'm a big fan of what you're doing. I'm going to buy your book, and I want to stay in touch. I want you to give me free coaching for the rest of my life. No, I'm just kidding. But I think just by being my friend, we'll help each other, right? So really appreciate you sharing your heartbeats with me today, Saahil. I really do. You're doing some great work in the world. Kudos to Natalia Berdikian again for introducing us. You're I can already tell we've never met, but you're a good friend across the ocean, and I hope to meet you someday. I know that you plan on coming to New York, and I'm gonna try to make it so that we can get together. I would love to do that and share some good energy together.
Absolutely, David. And I'd love to share one small story before we wrap up.
Sure.
And it's the story of a sailor. The sailor goes up to the captain of the ship and says, Captain, when am I going to get my pay? And the captain says, tomorrow. Sailor goes back to his little cabin, wakes up the next morning, all excited, about to get his pay, goes up to the captain, Captain, can I get my pay today? The captain says, hey, didn't I tell you tomorrow? So you see, folks, tomorrow never comes, right? You've learned some great tools that you can apply in your life. Don't wait, right? We don't want to shun that confrontation. We don't want to kick that bucket down the road. Do it today.
Yep. Totally. The best advice ever. Just do it. Speaking of heartbeats, we don't know how many we have left. God willing, we got a lot more, but today could be the last day. So do it today. Great advice. Hey, Sal, if people want to get in touch with you, learn more, all that great stuff, give us the contact info.
So you can visit my website, which is www.saahilmehta.com. I'm on social media, on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. You can, message me through any of these channels. And for those who are visiting the website, I've got a little something for you. I'm offering a break-free foundation course, which is completely free, right? You just enter your email address and you're going to get the entire framework. You're going to get a sample of the framework in all the dimensions that we spoke about, which you can watch at your own time. So subscribe and enjoy.
That's fantastic. If anybody wants a personal introduction to Saahil, throw me an email, david@davidmamano.com, and I will give you a personal introduction. It's got a great website. One of the nicest websites I've ever seen. Very classy looking, first class, and doing a great job. Putting some great work into the universe, and I appreciate it, Saahil. So thank you so much for being on the show.
It's been a pleasure, David.
Thank you. I also want to thank the Gonzo family. I hope you got a lot out of this podcast today. I always try to have the guests leave you with some nuggets, some tips that you can do right away. And I think Saahil did a great job with that today. So I also just want to thank you for listening. And I want to thank you for sharing your heartbeats with me today. Really appreciate it. I know you're very busy and there's a lot of podcasts out there, a lot of content out there. So the fact that you listened to this whole episode makes me smile and gives me great energy. So I appreciate that. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great day and make sure to stay awesome.